right.
Y'all hilarious.
Well, yeah, I want to make sure it's good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Ward Jr., and I am one of our co-hosts of Culture Crawl ATX, and I am here with none other than...
Mr. Donald Scott II, man of mystery, international.
Love it. And this is a live recording of Culture Crawl ATX. And for those that do not know what Culture Crawl ATX is, as a podcast that Don and I started back in 2019, and it was created specifically to talk about controversial conversations that usually divide us, but instead of focusing on the division, using it to bring people together and create this clarity. So as we think about Culture Crawl, think about conversations, think about trends in our society, today we wanted to talk about gamification and gaming. Don, anything you would like to add on that before we bring up our two lovely guests?
No, I'll say thank you all for being here. I thought that we'd be doing Culture Crawl ATX, streamed live during South by Southwest. So, and meeting awesome new people and hearing great stories. So, let's just have fun, shoot out any questions. Sometimes I'll say something crazy, just so you guys know. But, it's all love here. And do I get to curse or no?
Hey, so this is all authentic. I would say that, Culture Crawl ATX, go check us out online. We have about 54 episodes, and it's genuine. It's authentic. It's you come with your whole self. Some people say their name, some people don't, and it's all, of course, audio, right? So this is our first time doing video with the audio aspect as well. But let's dive into the conversation. So Destin and Michael, can y'all come up to the stage, please?
Y'all trying to do 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out.
All right. So for these two gentlemen, this is their first time on Culture Crawl ATX. So I'm gonna keep it natural and do exactly what Don and I do, and we just jump right in. So my background is technology, and I love education. And I know a lot of fathers out there that are always thinking about the future generation and what does the future training and education look like for our students, for our children, especially given a lot of challenges we're seeing around public education. And when I think about technology and how technology engages with education, gamification is the first thing that comes to mind because every kid loves games, right? And when I think about how the tech industry itself is evolving and a lot of jobs now becoming open around technology and around gaming, I realize there's a disconnect. So for you two gentlemen here that have several experiences around gamification and gaming, I first want to kind of set the stage because not everybody even knows what gaming and gamification really means. So for both of you, on your perspectives, can you please comment on one or both, like what does gaming mean, right? And what does gamification mean in connection to both of those?
Age before beauty, or? But at least for me, what gaming is not just a video game or adding points, badges, and leaderboards or something. I think it's the process of taking something and giving it some form of progression, some level of interactivity and engagement to make it something that brings a person back. It's hard to really quantify because gaming is so, versatile in what it could be, and it looks different to everybody. And the things that people want out of games is different. But it's the process of just making something more engaging, interactive, and brings that level of interactivity to it that some things that aren't gamified don't have.
So then we have gaming on the back, and also got gaming on the front end. So Michael, from one Michael to another Michael, what are your thoughts on the gaming industry?
Yeah, and hi everybody. My name is Michael Odokara-Okigbo. I'm the CEO of NKENNE. NKENNE is the first dedicated African language learning app in market. We currently have a beta released, and we're utilizing gamification in a major way in the app. In the language learning space, it's really important to get people to come back and practice. That's not very easy because a lot of people learning a language is not easy. Sometimes it's not fun, sometimes it's tedious, and it takes a lot of mental energy, and sometimes that's not the best thing for retention. So gamification is very, very important when it comes to app retention. So on the beta that we have currently, we're coming up with so many different ways and applying that on the beta when it comes to gamification, getting people to return, making sure that people feel rewarded for practicing, making sure people have a good feeling when they use the app, when they return to the app, when they're leaving the app, and that's what gamification is for. And a lot of apps in the language learning space are utilizing gamification, like you said earlier. Gamification is everything. It's money.
So then I'm immediately thinking about, gaming industry as far as skins and avatars in the metaverse. But before we go down that pathway, I want to talk about just gamification, our education system. So is this more so talking about K through 12? We're talking about college students, adults. Like, where does this gamification really start and where does it end?
I think it goes on more and more and more, especially as we get older. I mean, I'm 32 and I still love games. I'm still a gamer. And I still love apps that utilize games, and I'm sure all of us do. As well as, like, we all have short attention spans at this point. Nowadays, with the way the world is, it doesn't take a lot to get distracted. So with gamification, we use that to still stay connected into what we're doing, stay connected into what we're creating.
Yeah, I'll add too. Good job. I'll give a shout out. Piggyback Network co-founder Ismail El-Amin is here. One of the things that we're doing is, instead of encouraging parents to carpool with cash exchange, we've introduced this idea of using points as the exchange system. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have gamified life. I was talking with others and I said, we put money into the machine to play the game, right? And that's how I feel about it when people are like, oh, you might lose all your money in Bitcoin, or you might lose your money buying Nifties and playing around. But if you think about the fact that they have us using cash to play games, and then you can earn points, right? Just because I put a dollar value on a piece of crypto experience, that does not mean that I lost my money. What it means is I put my money into a machine and I played that game. And so if you think about the places where you're spending money, and you think about how they're getting you to continue spending your money, and how you think about living your life, especially as we're talking about the metaverse, right? Many of our experiences are going to continue to shift between physical world and digital world. And ultimately, it will be your access to cash that you then convert to some sort of digital experience.
So then, where do y'all think this shift kind of happened, right? Because back in the day, and I'm not that old, but back in the day, it was like, oh no, you can't learn anything from games, right? Like, stop playing games, go outside, go do something. When did that switch to, oh no, like, go learn how to build a game. Go learn how to add gaming techniques, gaming trends, gaming best practices to whatever you're building? Like, when did that shift kind of happen, at least for you personally?
I can't put a specific day to it, but it's obvious to see now when people are learning to fly planes instead of putting them up in a screaming metal death trap and saying, hopefully you know how to land this. They're letting them get on flight simulator so that way they can do the same level of training without the risk. Same thing for Army and infantry. Now people are able to play sports virtually and get a feel for like what these actions look like. We were just using the Oculus, and I was able to go through ISS and look what it's like to use one of the little space arm things and whatnot. And while these things aren't one-to-one as doing the actual activity, we're finding ways to bring technology and AR, VR, gaming in general, and trying to make it a use case for how to do real-world things. And now it's starting to become so synonymous with real world activity that some people don't even tell the difference. Like Pokemon Go, is it an app for you to catch Pokemon, or is it a gamified way to get people who usually wouldn't go outside to walk 2 miles a day to catch Pokemon? Did you ever think about that? Most people don't.
We'll let that sit for a little bit. I'm not sure if y'all caught that. Can you wind it back for us for a little bit?
I'll rewind it, Turbo. Run it back, Turbo. But a lot of these games, that's one of the things I'm developing. I guess I didn't mention that on the podcast, but I'm working on a cardio fitness app that is turning outdoor movement into a giant game of turf war where you own areas with your friends and compete against your foes by walking, running, biking, crawling, paddleboarding, or whatever type of movement that you do, and turn that into a gamified experience to get people to be more outwardly or more active outside and just want to move more. And a lot of products have been doing that, and they do it so subtly that you don't think about it. There was another thing that I saw when I was studying gamification that was so cool. I can't remember where it was. I think it was New York. But in the subway, when you're getting out and you're going back up to like, you know, the main street, you could go on the elevator or you could take the stairs. Now, me personally, I don't like waiting for the elevator, and I ain't been skipping leg day, so we gonna hit the stairs. But a lot of people take the elevator. But one group decided we are going to add in piano keys to the stairs, so when you step on it, it plays like a piano. And people were fiending to go up the stairs just to play the piano with their steps. So gamification, I don't think there is a end to it. I don't think there really is a beginning. I think people have always been doing it, and I think companies, organizations, groups, public services are realizing that we want people to do stuff. We need to find a way to make it engaging and interactive, and it's happening right now. And now people are finally starting to get hip to it on a more publicly aware status right now. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can say, but that was brilliantly said. I mean, also gamification is just incredible with connecting people together, especially with NKENNE. We're using gamification for connecting NKENNE community members together, having them practice together, having them do lessons together. So gamification is imperative when it comes to connection.
Yeah, I would say too, the competitive spirit of doing things better than your peers. If you are the type that likes to compete, whether it's in sports, whether it's education, whether it's trying to be successful and be better than the next person, many times because we're trying to earn something, right? Whether it's points, dollars, respect, right? In many of those aspects, they being culture, right, has figured out how to entice and encourage you to show your dedication to an experience by telling you that if you do it a little more, you can be a little better, and allowing you to measure where you are in that progress. I think it was mentioned here on LinkedIn, and like, you have 90%, get your 10 more percent and finish this profile. That's encouraging people to take action, right? And it's that encouragement of taking action that the game, we're using this term gamification, but ultimately it's getting people to do what you want them to do. And in many cases, they've learned, and we know, that when you make it competitive, people try to do their best.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off that for
Nice.
one more comment, but there is a philosopher or a psychologist, I can't remember, one of those P's, one of the smart people. And he came up with the term around flow state, which, if you've never heard of it, is the art of just being locked in, being in the zone, which is a mix of something being enough of a challenge that it interests you, but not being so ridiculously difficult that it's not even worth doing. It fits into your niche. And he said, his name was Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, something I can't pronounce. And he found that games were one of the best ways to streamline that. If you ever read Game Thinking from Amy Jo Kim, she talks a lot about that and the road to mastery of a game, where finding that sweet spot of getting into the flow state for something that being a challenge but being entertaining and not being overly difficult is the perfect way to get anybody to do anything. And games, at least from what people have studied and from my own personal experience, has been the best way to do that. And the competitive element of it is also something that goes into that.
On a side note, music is very good for flow state as well. That's very, very important.
Music?
Oh yeah, we be rocking the neoclassicals over here, man. Shout out to Ludovico and Nadia if you ever listen to this. I love you, man.
As I was hearing you talk, Destin, two things came to mind. One is Kyrie Irving when he's in his zone, dropping 50 points against Philly. Sorry, y'all. And then I automatically, then I think about the work that I do here at Austin Urban Technology Movement. I think about the work I do in the community. I think about the many hats that I wear. They're challenging, but I enjoy it, right? It's interesting, so I keep on going through, right? I think about your story, Destin, from when I first met you, you just got deeper and deeper into tech, right? Even Donald, when I first met you, Donald, right? You got more and more involved into tech, started companies and now learning all these different things. So one last question I have for you all is, as we think about the gaming or gamification, actually two questions. The first question is what are the skills, right? So if I want to get into gaming, if I want to build something, if I want to add, some gamification to whatever I have going on, what are some skills I should be thinking about, that kind of helped you all along the way?
So I'm a musician by trade. I kind of fell into technology because I wanted to give it access to people to learn African languages. So I don't think you need much. I mean, you see what you like to play, see what encourages you and engages you. You look at those rules and then explore. The cool thing about gamification is there are no rules, and you can kind of create what you want to create and inspire how you want to inspire. So be in flow state and just do it. Do your research, play different games, look at different apps, look at the apps that you really like, see what they are doing very, very well. There are no rules.
So be in that flow state, Destin, you want to add to that?
I mean, he pretty much summed it up. A game is whatever you make it, really. Like, people play the same game for different reasons. There's a thing called the Bartle test, which is a perception map, basically, of where you stand as a player. So there are socializers, for people who just want to be collaborative. So these are the type of people, I'm thinking about it from the lens of my app that I'm developing in the cardio fitness space. These are the type of people who just want to be a part of a team, and they just want to be engaged in a community. And they come to games for that, and that motivates them. They want to be a part of a community. Then there are killers. That's where I lean towards. I just want to beat you. If you're doing 10 miles, I'm doing 10 and a half to 11, just because you did 10. Mm-hmm. There are explorers. They just want to figure out what's possible within the game. They just want to figure out, like, oh wow, you know what, I've never been to this part of Austin, so I just want to capture that. You know what, there's an empty, like the kind of guy when you play a fighter game and there's that blacked out character, what do I have to do to unlock that? Because I just want to know what it is. I don't even know what it is. I don't even know if I'm going to want it, but I just want to know what it is. And then the last one are achievers. And these are the people who's like, hey, look, this is the highest score on the leaderboard. I just want to do that. I don't care about beating everybody. I just want to hit this milestone, this threshold. And life is the same way. Some people want to, be rich. So, okay, fine. Set a financial goal for yourself. Or you just want to achieve the highest level of some knowledge. Like, a lot of gamification is incorporated into platforms such as like yours, where I was like, I'm learning a language. I just want to learn Nigerian or something like that. Okay, great. Or I want to learn French, Spanish. Duolingo and other groups did a great job about that too, in gamifying that. So maybe you just want to achieve that. Or if you have a specific goal around following or impact, whatever metrics you want to put to that, you can find the gamification route to hit that metric, and then just keep that in your head. And the game is whatever you make it, so that's the freedom of gamification. You get to choose what game you play.
Yeah, I was just thinking what you just said. The game is whatever you make it, and that's the thing, right? The game is the game, whatever game it is you're playing. And if you go out of your way to be your best at whatever it is you are passionate about, that's the game, right? Like, I like doing random stuff, but my favorite thing to do is connect people. And there's people in the audience who I've connected, right? And I'm excited about that. And then I try to do another thing. How many people can I get to come to my house? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people can I introduce in 3 days? How long would it take me to do these different types of things, right? And so if you think about what keeps you passionate and how you can do better, and you use the word metrics, right? We're in this founders experience, and they're asking us about OKRs, objectives and key results. Sometimes when it's about making money or it's about doing a thing that's going to get you to a different platform, it's external. But when it's internal, that's when you know you're on your path. And on topic of flow state, like, quick little mic drop, I think I'm flowing through life right now. Like, the shit that I'm doing, it works, right? And my buddy's been here. He's been seeing it. Like, I'm like, yo, man, I think that this is going to work. And he's like, I don't know if it's going to work. I'm like, just wait. And then it works. And we're like, oh, shit, it worked. And then we keep going. And it's just it's an amazing experience. So I would just encourage everybody, everybody in the crowd, everybody listening on a digital platform, think about what makes you passionate and figure out a way to do it all the time in your free time. And if you don't have free time, you got to make it, because they're not giving it to us, right? Shout out to Kanye. Space and time are a luxury. And that's a true statement.
Man, I think that wraps it up right there. So, gentlemen, thank y'all so much for this episode of Culture Crawl ATX. Donald, it's always a pleasure, as always. And thank y'all so much for listening. Have a good one.
Thanks,
thank you.